You've seen me do this before. Turn my deck into a full-blown grocery store that feeds us every week. Not a cute garden. No, I've got a working, productive, food-generating operation that saves us hundreds of dollars and feeds us better than a store ever could. And now we're gonna do that all again. This spring, my garden gave us yarrow for medicine that's replacing Neosporin, along with oils and vinegars so fancy that I'm basically a farm-to-table bistro now. Fresh salads and cabbage soups were the norm, and I've already got a freezer stash of herb butter that's going on grilled cheese and roasted veggies all summer long. And last week it was delicious in those mashed potatoes I made. And don't get me started on the greens. We're stuffing them into quiche, ravioli, lasagna. All of that and more came from this deck. So even though the garden looks a little tired right now, this is where the next season starts. In pockets that are a little bit bigger than your hand. Oh, this is your first time here? Let me give you a tour. Pretty cool, huh? I'm growing all that in a space the size of about 2 parking spaces. So yeah, the garden's looking a little end of season tired. Yeah, so not exactly lush. It's kind of like her I just got off work, don't talk to me yet frame of mind. Oh, you can relate? But let me tell you, I'm still out here squeezing every ounce of value from what's left. Because that's the trick. You don't stop just because it's stopped looking pretty. So today, I'm going to show you 6 recipes that I'm going to make with the last of the spring garden. It's the final girl. You gave it your all hurrah. And then I'm flipping this garden for summer. I'm planting new crops and I'm stacking new goals. And I'm showing you exactly how I keep food rolling in without losing my mind. Or the weekend. Because look, I am not out here planting to get one cute salad. Because what I'm planting now will feed us in as little as 10 days, fully grown within 30 days. So, as long as you have warm summer temperatures, this is your moment. This is the kind of system that makes my deck work harder than most backyards. Every pocket in this planter is working overtime. These are perpetual harvest, high turnover, high yield crops. So, if you're just getting started or if you're wondering whether it's too late to plant anything at all, this is your summer grocery garden blueprint. Steal it. Seriously. I'm flipping my grocery store garden in one afternoon. And in a few weeks, this deck is going to be overflowing. We're not just growing, we're producing. And yes, we're doing it all over again. Because this is how small space gardening wins. Now on this planter, I've still got to mow down a couple of herbs. So when I'm in this particular scenario, I like to make an herb salt because last week I already made an herb butter. And I think the blend that I'm going to go with is sage, some celery leaf, parsley, thyme, and chives. And since I'm going to dehydrate these herbs anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and place them straight on the dehydrator trays. This oregano was all the way out to here. Again, there's so much parsley. There's like another pocket over there. Just go ahead and take this hunk. It always happens like this, y'all, which is why these salt blends are just so dynamic. They're never the same, but they're just, oh my goodness. Okay, so I harvested some spring onions and then I've got some sage here. This is my celery, which I grow late into the summer because it's going to be pretty much shaded, not only by this tree that I have here, but I have it in like the second and third tiers. Like it'll last all summer long. And so even though the stalks are skinny, they're going to get larger. I did a bit of rosemary. And then on this tray, we've got tons of parsley, more spring onions, we've got oregano, we've got thyme. So let's take this in the house, clean things off, and then just dehydrate it. So we have our dried herbs, and to this we're gonna go ahead and I'm adding some Redmond sea salt, but if you also had some dry flaky salt, you could use that as well. And then one thing I like to do, if you wanna add a little bit of extra depth, is that you can add a little bit of garlic powder or onion powder, again, just depending on the seasonings that you're using. And so I'm just gonna sprinkle in a little bit of garlic powder. Yeah, that's enough. And now you're just gonna pulse this to your desired texture. You can either leave this like rustic and leafy or finer and a bit more well-balanced. So here we have it, our herb salt, and I'm just going to store it in these little spice containers. They just, as you can see, stick to my fridge. And in case you're wondering how you would use something like this, you can sprinkle this on roasted veggies or eggs, grilled meat, sometimes even popcorn. Oh, and especially sourdough or focaccia. You can fold it into compound butter or even like a cucumber salad. Y'all, I'm telling you. But where I constantly find myself using this is to add to like a broth dish at the start for like a base flavor. Y'all, like, this is it. This is it. Or especially if you make your broths out of like veggie scraps and sometimes you need something to like punch up the flavor a bit. This is it. Okay, y'all, look at this. Oh my goodness. She is just gorgeous and smells like, just smells like a pizza, smells like the garden. I don't even want to know the price that you would pay for a fresh herb salt, right, at the grocery store. So, especially if it's made from like real seed salt and like fresh herbs, y'all, this would be so expensive. But essentially, this is just costing me the salt. Because a lot of those herbs are cut and come again. And they've been coming again year after year, like each spring they appear for years now. So because I cook with so many fresh herbs, I cannot tell you how many times a friend will be over and they'll be like, oh my goodness, this tastes so good. And I'm like, oh yeah, you like that new spice blend? And they're like, oh yeah, totally love it. What is it? And I'm like, oh, it's my backyard blend. Okay, if there's one plant that I grow that makes me feel like a medieval healer with a modern day kitchen, it's yarrow. And today I'm going to harvest both the white and the pink varieties. Look at this cute vase that I just got from the thrift store. We're gonna make a little bouquet for the table out of these first two cuttings. Okay, I think we can agree that this is a ton of yarrow, and I've been harvesting it like this all season. Oh, this is just so stunning. So this is the yarrow that we harvested, and I like for my herbs to just kind of like air out a bit and hang dry or lay flat. And so our yarrow is feeling and looking good. And because I have so much of it, I am going to not only harvest it, but still out there in my garden, I just grabbed a half-gallon jar. And we're just going to give them a rough chop and place them in the jar. Now, yarrow is amazing for skin. It's antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and helps stop bleeding. So this oil, it's the base for salves, healing balms, bug bite relief, and anything you want to soothe, calm, or gently disinfect. Did you know that yarrow helps to boost collagen production? It's also a gentle astringent, which helps to reduce redness and soothe your skin. It balances oily skin. It has flavonoids. Now, personally, I'm going to sneak a bit of this olive oil into all of my homemade body care products, but I also like doing just a few little drops on my face, neck, and chest. So I'm actually going to use avocado oil for this oil infusion. And it's absolutely fine to use avocado oil for this. I know some people may go with olive oil, but I have found that avocado oil is less likely to go rancid and it's more neutral in scent. And it's also still gentle, it absorbs well, and it doesn't leave a heavy residue. Oh, and another benefit of using yarrow on your skin is that it actually promotes skin regeneration by encouraging cell turnover, and it just supports the body's natural healing processes. So this is going to need to stay someplace dark and cozy for the next 6 to 8 weeks. All right, so now we're just going to lid and label it. And after the steep time, you're just going to strain out the flowers, keep the oil, and then store that oil someplace in like a cool, dark place. I mean, wow, y'all. My garden gave me this. And that's the great part about this. You can grow this on your deck in a vertical planter. No land needed. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingafarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you live a farm fresh life without land or livestock. In case you're wondering what this overflowing plant is, it's borage. And I promise you that just a few weeks ago, I was holding her in the palm of my hand. But we've gotten like 2.5 weeks of consistent rain, and now it's this. But what you have here are these beautiful light blue flowers and these very fuzzy leaves that smell like cucumbers. Correction, they taste like cucumbers too. So I'm going to show you how I use borage in 3 completely different ways. One for wellness, one for skincare, and one for your dinner plate. Oh my goodness, so what a difference that makes. So borage will kind of reseed itself again in the fall. It's not necessarily cut and come again, but that's what it likes to do. And now I can see my flowers again. And then I realized that I've had some basil that I completely forgot about over here, as well as more yarrow. So these are the leaves that we have harvested. And then with these fuzzy, prickly stalks, they're not edible or really medicinal, but they're high in silica. So I'm going to feed these to my worm bin. All right, so now let's go ahead and make our borage flower glycerite. And these are the flowers that we harvested. And if you didn't know, borage is called the herb of courage. And these tiny blue flowers are known for gently calming the nervous system and soothing away anxiety. And so to make this glycerite, you're first gonna fill your jar about 3/4 of the way full of fresh borage flowers. Now, as you can tell, these buds have already flowered and are open. And when they're open, the blue blossoms are gonna offer you a more vibrant color and slightly more nectar or the volatile oils. But one thing to note, because I also had a lot of buds, is that the buds still contain many of the same beneficial compounds. And these compounds include their soothing, cooling, and anti-inflammatory properties. And a lot of herbalists are going to use both the buds and the blooms for their glycerites and their tinctures. Oh my goodness, this is so pretty, right? I mean, just looking at this jar is going to take your stress away. Okay, so now you're going to want to get some vegetable glycerin, and it's about a 3-to-1 ratio of vegetable glycerin to water, and that's what we're going to top this off with. Now let's add the water, and you absolutely could have mixed this up beforehand, but then give everything a good stir. Next, you're going to want to cap it and label it, and give it a good shake. So you're going to want to let this infuse for about 4 to 6 weeks out of direct sunlight. And when it's ready, you're just going to strain it and store it in a dropper bottle. So since I made this as a glycerite, it is absolutely safe to give to children. And you're going to want to keep this on hand for emotional overwhelm or even bedtime stress, or even just those low, foggy days. And so what I like to do is just take this by the dropper under the tongue, or just add a few drops to some hot tea. Next up, we're going to make a borage infused oil using the leaves. So one thing to know about borage is that it is extremely rich in GLA. And GLA is an anti-inflammatory fatty acid that is excellent for calming your skin. Now, one thing you want to make sure is that you let the leaves, and if you're using the flowers for this, just wilt for a little bit so that you can reduce the moisture. And I'm going to give these a rough chop. And then we're going to pack them into a clean jar. Next, you're going to cover your leaves with olive oil, or you can even use sweet almond oil. And now this is going to get lidded and labeled, and it needs to sit someplace warm for the next couple of weeks. As always, you're going to want to just shake this up every couple of days. And then once it's done, you're going to strain it, bottle it, and then use in any of your homemade salves or just straight on your skin. So this is a really good go-to for bug bites, sun-stressed skin, or dry patches, which is basically anything that the summer throws at you. Okay, so now let's make something delicious with our borage, and this is going to be borage chimichurri. Now, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the leaves have a mild cucumber meets arugula flavor that brings such a fresh and cooling twist to this herb pack sauce. I know it sounds weird until you've tried it, but yes, these leaves taste very similar to cucumbers. Yeah, so I just took a handful of my borage, and then I just harvested some fresh parsley that we're gonna go ahead and add to our blender. Next, you're gonna add a heavy hand of garlic, a bit of olive oil, splash of lemon juice, And then next we're gonna add a splash of apple cider vinegar. You could also use red wine vinegar if you have that, or like a splash of sherry. And because I like my chimichurri with a little kick, I'm gonna add some red pepper flakes. Bam, that is it. Now we're just gonna go ahead and blend this until it is smooth in texture. All right, y'all, that is it. I'm just gonna go ahead and store this in this container because later on this week when I make some baked chicken, guess what's gonna get spread over top? So this will actually keep in the refrigerator for 5 to 7 days. And like I said, it's great on chicken, fish, or grilled veggies. You can even toss this with pasta or lentils. It is summery, it's earthy, it's cooling and refreshing, and way underrated. All right, so whether you want to calm your nerves, soothe your skin, or upgrade your dinner, Borage has your back. Hey, so I wanted to jump in here and say this while you're watching me make all these products. Just by having a few green stalk vertical planters on a deck, it's allowed me to stop paying $22 for something that I can make in 5 minutes. This garden is giving me so many wellness swaps for our body, our house, and our plate. I mean, have you walked down the health aisle lately? Ugh, so expensive. And it just doesn't make any sense because I'm trusting them to give me what I can actually grow faster, fresher, and at a fraction of the cost. No mystery oil, no dusty herbs, no sticker shock. So my green stalk garden isn't just pretty to look at, but it is proof that even in a compact space, gardening absolutely pays off. So this plant right here is called comfrey, but she also has some nicknames like bone knit or knit bone. And bone knit has been used for centuries, literally like since medieval times. And people use it to heal everything from bruises to broken bones. So nowadays, we know that these leaves are actually packed with some type of compound that stimulates tissue regeneration. So in plain terms, comfrey helps your body heal itself faster. So if you have bruises, sore joints, twisted ankles, or overworked knees, comfrey doesn't just soothe, it rebuilds. And so to make our comfrey oil, you're going to start off with a large jar, and you need to give your comfrey leaves like a rough chop, or you can do what I'm doing, which is to just, rip them a bit with your hands. Now, I will be harvesting comfrey all season long. It does excellent during the cool weather, so like the spring and again during the fall. It doesn't like heat. It really starts to kind of wilt, which is why I need to go ahead and harvest what I have. Now, this is a little baby leaf, but comfrey leaves can get huge. I would say this is probably medium. Now, I actually used to buy comfrey sap before I had a comfrey plant and started making it. And you always wonder when you buy it, like, what's the density of how much comfrey I'm getting? And now that is part of the satisfaction of when you start making it yourself, right? This is concentrated. So after your jar is filled with your chopped leaves, you're just going to cover it with olive oil. You can also use avocado oil too, which is what I'm using. You just want to make sure that you're using something that's skin loving and shelf stable. All right, so now we're just gonna cap it and label it. So at this stage, you've got a couple of options. You can either let it infuse slowly on a sunny windowsill for 3 to 4 weeks, just making sure that you're shaking it every few days, or you can gently warm this in a double boiler or water bath for 2 to 3 hours if you're short on time. Or you can do what I'm doing. I have a thrifted bread levain that I keep downstairs in the basement, and since I'm not in my bread era at the moment, I just like to add all of my infused oils to it. It maintains its temperature, and yeah, I just leave it in there for the next week or so. And when this is done, you're just gonna strain it, and you have comfrey oil. And you can either use this as is or blend it into a salve with beeswax. And if you do that, that's going to give you a balm that you can use for bruises, sore muscles, sprains, gardening knees, crampy backs. This is one of those remedies that I always keep on hand. It's that good. So I actually have some scrappy kale and spinach that's been surviving the summer heat, and even a few cabbage leaves. So I even have a lettuce that's left, which I strategically planted here on the bottom tier so that it's shaded. So pretty much this is what I call a farewell salad. Because before I reset this garden for summer, I'm making one last dish to celebrate everything the spring garden gave us. Y'all, look at all this salad. And again, this is just from what I am going to call a very lean garden. Well, we've still got this third one over here. We had salmon earlier in the week, so I'm just gonna add what was left from that. And now I'm just gonna top my salad with some quinoa croutons and a bit of bell pepper. Okay, so let's talk dressing. Remember that chive oil that we made last week? Y'all, this is her moment. Actually, it's her second debut in my kitchen this week. I just roasted some chicken thighs in this earlier this week. I just put this oil in my cast iron skillet, laid those thighs down. I sprinkled them with just a few herbs, but I'm telling you, it was this. Oh my goodness, it's just, oh, so good. Yeah, so to this chive oil, which is actually an avocado oil, we're gonna add a splash of apple cider vinegar, a bit of mustard, pinch of salt, and pepper, and a dollop of honey. Boom, salad dressing done. Let's cap it and shake it up. And just like that, we have a delicious homemade salad dressing. Now, salad dressings are some of the most processed ingredients that you can buy in the grocery store. And to get the healthy ones, they are so expensive, but you likely have, if you have, just basic pantry staples, everything you need to make them at home. Let's go ahead and pour this over top. The scent of that chive oil is sharp and buttery, and this is going to taste like early spring in a bottle. This is the kind of dressing that just clings to every crinkled edge of those greens, just like it was made for them. Wow, look at that. Y'all, this just isn't a salad, it's a send-off. It's like the last little gift from a garden that's about to be reset. And while I love to see everything lush and overflowing, these imperfect small harvests still matter. Because it's still food and it's still homegrown. And meals from your garden are still worth slowing down for. Oh, that dressing's so good. My green stalks are a huge reason why gardening works out so well for me. They're made in the U.S. by a family-owned business in Tennessee, and they truly make gardening accessible. Because let's be honest, there are barriers to gardening. Not enough land, not enough time, physical limitations, or too much bending, hauling, digging. But with a vertical planter like this, I'm saving space, I'm watering less, I've also got less pest pressure, and I'm still growing a dense, productive garden right here on my deck. So if you've been thinking about starting a green stalk garden or adding it to what you already have, I'd love for you to use my affiliate link below. You'll get $10 off your order and a garden that you could set up in 30 minutes. I only recommend what I actually use, and I use these planters year after year because they work. Now, I do cover my pockets with mulch after I harvest. It helps to lock in moisture, keeps the microbes happy, and protects the living soil that I worked so hard to build up early this spring. You don't need anything fancy. I literally just keep a bucket of mulch right here on my deck and use a handful at a time. Easy. All right, so now that I've wrapped up my spring garden, it's time to show you how I set up my summer garden. And as you can see, I use a combination of starts that I've already got going. So the ones in these containers I planted from seed, but now that the temperatures are stabilized, I've just moved them outdoors. But in addition to these starts, I also plant from seed directly into my green stalks. Now I've also purchased some full-sized flowers because typically like early June and really throughout the rest of the month, you're going to start to see flower and plant sales that are at least 25% or more off sale or on clearance. And so if it's a floral, it's something that I absolutely grabbed on clearance. If you're planting a summer garden right now, here's something I want you to think about. First, what are you flavoring your food with? Then grow the herbs that you are constantly reaching for. Things like basil, oregano, parsley, chives. Don't sleep on the herbs, y'all. They're easy to grow and they're fast to harvest. And as you saw from earlier in the video, they can replace store-bought seasonings, salad dressings, and body care products. Second, think about what kind of greens you enjoy eating, both fresh and cooked. And for me, that's chard in the summer. It doesn't get bitter in the heat and it's endlessly versatile. And then third, what vegetables do you want to eat and preserve? And that's things like cherry tomatoes, bush beans, eggplant, and summer squash. And all those things, you can eat them fresh, freeze them, can them, or dry them. And that is production with a purpose. So remember, a small space does not mean a small yield. I may not have acreage, but I've got a system. It's now been close to 6 or 7 years that I've been growing on a deck, and I'm starting to realize that this is what small space gardening actually looks like. And a small space garden, when it is working, is not about growing everything. It's about growing the right things. So for example, I do a lot of cut and come again culinary herbs. And yes, I already have a full herb planter that is growing strong, but this time of the year, I like to do a second round of herbs that we really use a lot. We go through basil like water, especially for pesto. So I've got a lot of that coming up. And then I've also got things like oregano, parsley, catnip, and dwarf tomatoes, because those are going to be crops that give back week after week. Now, yes, I love a highly productive garden, but I do make space for beauty, especially around what I like to call the crown of my green stalks, which is just basically the top tier. And again, that's where the clearance flowers go. They're often 50% off, they're still blooming, and they're just waiting to be rescued. So last year I tried the Texas Lantana, which comes in like a variety of colors, and these keep their bloom all summer long. The same is true for the Coleus. So I usually do have like this variety, but oh my goodness, look at this one that I found. Oh my goodness, I just love this stunning like pop of yellow in there. Oh, gorgeous. And I still have the marigolds that I planted in the spring, which are both practical and pretty. You want to attract those pollinators to your garden. So, plant something pretty. So here's another thing that makes my garden work. I succession plant. So that typically looks like me planting something every 7 to 10 days throughout the summer. So as I harvest from a pocket, and it's typically 1 tier to a tier and a half, depending on, what's in that planter pocket per week, I'm already having something that's growing to pop in. So here's something else that I want you to take to heart. My garden is a system. It is not a flex. And I say that because I know some of y'all are out here trying to grow the biggest tomato or the heaviest pumpkin or some type of monster squash. But here's my advice. If you are growing in a small space, let that dream go. Because here's the truth, I can plant and harvest 20 mini squash in the time it takes someone to harvest 2 full-size squash. And mine are going to be easier to cook with, easier to store, and just as delicious. Again, it's about functionality, not flexing. Cherry tomatoes are delicious, and I'm not out here trying to grow the biggest one for Instagram. I'm out here growing the food we actually eat, night after night, garden to plate. And that's why I love container varieties. They're quick to grow, easy to harvest, and perfect for my space. But I'll go ahead and add this in. You absolutely can grow about 80 to 85% maybe of any full-size fruit or vegetable in your green stalk. But you just have to skip a pocket or two to give it space to expand. But I'm no longer looking to grow the biggest variety of everything because I'm looking to see what can I plant and turn over and be eating as quickly as possible. I don't have anything that I'm planting in my garden that's taking like 80 days? 80 days to grow? No, my patience is too thin for that. My max is 45 days. And that's why I absolutely love the smaller container varieties and the hybrids, which yes, are still non-GMO and heirlooms, which again, they're faster, easier, and just as tasty. And let's be honest, once they're in the kitchen and chopped up, no one knows the difference. So that is the basic rhythm of it. Let's plant. Y'all, this is the Topsy Tom dwarf tomato. All right, y'all, so there are a number of crops that I like to start directly in my green stalk planters. Now, these are going to be my high producers that are going to give me multiple harvests. And I like for everything to get hit hard and fast with direct sunlight, which is why I unstack them and then I'll plant them and leave my planters like this, like on the deck, just open to catch the sun for about the next 7 to 10 days. And then once I see some strong starts, I will stack them and leave them like that the rest of the summer. I'm going to start off by planting my container bush beans by Renee's Garden. I love these, right? Like bean leaves can really start to like sprout and go all over the place. No, like this is a very compact growing plant that does not compromise on yield. This is another compact plant that I love growing. It is the container zucchini, also from Renee's Garden. Again, zucchini can just get wild on you, but these stay like just nice and tight and dense. And we're also going to start some mini pickles and squash, 2 types. I'm going to plant this sunburst squash and then also this climbing honey butternut squash. I'm just going to top things off with some of the amendment that we made earlier this spring. I really only do like a refresh in the spring and then again in the fall. Y'all, take a look at my celery. Again, the flavor is already excellent. I'm just waiting for them to thicken up a bit, but I'll come out here, as you can tell, and just harvest what I need. And because this stays on a bottom planter, I'll have it all summer long. I just love fresh celery. I'm going to make some celery salt with this. And oh my goodness. Yes, I'm growing celery. Well, friend, we wrapped up the spring harvest and turned it into something delicious. And we planted out the first wave of summer crops. Nothing fancy and not an acre in sight. Just intention, rhythm, and a system that works. And the best part? I'm not overwhelmed. I've got a garden that fits my life and a system that makes me feel productive, not burned out. To get more small space gardening inspiration, click the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.